50% of the people in the US anyway believe that AI is bad, it's dangerous, they're wrong. If you're not using AI 5 times an hour, you are behind your competition.
Today's guest is Kevin Surace, the father of the virtual assistant, an AI pioneer with 95 worldwide patents and author of the Joy Success Cycle.
How did you end up becoming the father of AI assistant?
Portico was the first fully AI assistant. He would answer your phone and book people on your calendar and things we can't even do today, and ended up resulting in several dozen worldwide patents. And those got licensed ultimately to Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. Anyone who really wanted to do voice assistance.
Software developers' jobs will change a lot. So what do you think the developers' evolution should be?
We've seen this before, but most people just have forgotten that because we've been in high-level languages now for 30 or 40 years. And now we're going to the highest level language, which is just the way we speak. And if we're articulate enough and have a good enough specification, it'll write all of that all the way down to machine code for us. In talking to so many developers, at first the developer says, all of my joy came from writing code. And I love writing code. You never really loved writing code. What you got the most joy from is delivering that feature or that bug fix. Nobody cares how you got there. And in fact, if you can get there without writing a line of code, even better.
So what can developers do to live in the current AI era?
You have to be an absolute expert on using Claude and agents, period. This is the best time to be alive in technology ever.
They're all doing AI, more technical stuff, and you finally wrote a book not about technology. It's called Joy Success Cycle.
The core of the book says that joy doesn't come after success, it comes before. Joy in everything you do will lead to more success. This is a very critical breakthrough in understanding, and stop worrying about those things which you can't impact.
Hey, quick pause. My goal with Tech Lead Journal is simple. Learn from the best in tech so we can all grow together. If this resonates with you, hit subscribe to follow the channel. It's the biggest way for you to support the show and help us keep bringing great guests and insights to you. Thanks for being here, and let's get back to it. Hello everyone, welcome back to another new episode of the Tech Lead Journal podcast. Today, I have with me Kevin Surace. He's known as the father of AI assistant. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but not only that, Kevin is also publishing his book, his first book, if I'm not mistaken, called Joy Success Cycle. So Kevin, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Henry, for having me.
Right, Kevin, let's start from this title of yours, father of AI assistant, right? I can see also behind you, there's this, picture about Portico. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of like the first generation of AI assistant. So maybe let's start from there. Let's tell a story about how did you end up becoming like the father of AI assistant?
Yeah, that is right. Portico was the first fully AI assistant that you could argue with and interact with and interrupt, and she would answer your phone and book people on your calendar and things we can't even do today. We did that work at a company called General Magic. General Magic was a spin out of Apple and developed 3 major breakthroughs. First was somewhat the predecessor to the iPhone. And the second was a language called Telescript so that we could create AI agents, and we did. So we had the whole idea of agents came out of General Magic that long ago in the late 90s. And the third was this idea of an assistant that you could talk to over the phone. And the importance of that at the time was that people had just gotten cell phones, not smartphones yet, like Motorola flip phones. And they had just gotten the internet, but the internet was something you had basically at your desk at work, and you didn't have access to your calendar and your contacts and every stock quotes, whatever, while you were in the car or pretty much anywhere else because there was no portable device. But we could get you access to all of that via talking to a virtual assistant. So that's what we did. And we ended up having about 3.5 million people on the system at the time. So it was successful and fun and, a big development project. I think one of the fun things for your audience is there's no such thing as the cloud then. So you built your own data center, which we did. We had to build our own data center, and it was a voice and data center because you had to take voice coming in and you had to have voice going out and you had to process it in between. So we did all of that, and it was a great team, great effort, and ended up resulting in more than a dozen U.S. patents, several dozen worldwide patents, and those got licensed ultimately to Apple, Microsoft, Google, and others, pretty much in Amazon. Anyone who really wanted to do voice assistance. Lastly, one of the big things that came out of that is something called post-training. Well, post-training is something we do all the time now with AI, with Gen AI models. And post-training is where you have literally rooms of people looking at how the model reacted and seeing if it's correct or not, and then putting in corrections into sort of its background programming, if you will, or background prompting. And we were the first people to do that. We invented it. It was the subject of a patent also. And we had linguists listening to what was being said. They didn't know who was saying it, but they were listening to that and making corrections in the model so that it would be more accurate each time someone interacted with it. So lots of breakthroughs there, and very proud of that team and the work we did.
Right. Well, so many patents. If I'm not mistaken, you have 90 over patents. I think you
95.
mentioned a couple. 95. Okay, yeah, some of those related to this AI assistant, and I think it's really cool. Every company who wants to, invent their own AI assistant, it's kind of like having the license from yours. So I think that's really great.
And more than that, even when patents expire, you are building on all of the work that was done in the past. This is true with all technology, right? You're building on the work of the past. Patents eventually expire, and there were some of these patents got extended for a variety of reasons. But most of those patents are probably expired by now. They've hit the 20+ year mark. And but still, when you look at the architecture of systems, you find a lot of what we did in terms of how do you interact with an artificial human? What should that look like? How should they respond? What's the range of responses? All of that early work had to be done. And the idea of post-training, that wasn't obvious. We were the first people to do it, because people would look and say, it doesn't always respond right. Well, we have to do better in pre-training. We have to do better in pre-training. I go, stop. Why don't we just listen to what people say? I mean, it was a crazy idea one day. Why don't we listen to what they're saying and fix it? What do you mean? Well, we'll build an interface so that our linguists, without coding, can just go in and say, no, this is what it said, and the right answer would be this. And you keep training it and putting weights on those new answers. And it turns out that was a brilliant idea, but we didn't know it was brilliant at the time. We're just trying to fix the thing, right?
Right.
And today, that is a stalwart of what we do in Gen AI for sure, and also in AI assistants. And people like Scale AI and others have tens of thousands of people doing post training, right?
Yep.
We had 7, I think. Oh, wasn't that many, but they were busy
Right.
all the time.
Remind me again, which year is that?
1998, 1999,
Okay.
just before 2000. Yeah.
Right. And I think these days people associate these kind of assistants with, Gen AI, right? LLM model, right?
Sure.
So back then, what was the AI technology that actually you leverage on?
Yeah, great question. We used hidden Markov models, so we didn't have an LLM. And that is a very traditional type of AI model that does learn, and it can learn every time something happens. And so you had a combination of itself learning and getting better, and in terms of responses post-training, to make sure that we could tell the system that even though it thought that answer was right, it wasn't the appropriate response. And again, that even with Gen AI, that's what we're doing, because you have all this pre-training of a trillion or more tokens, or trillion or more phrases, and yet still it gets some things wrong. We say hallucinates. We never called, Mary was her name, the first AI assistant. We never thought she hallucinated. We never used that term. We just said that wasn't the right response. So you always have to have these breakthroughs at the beginning. And obviously, I've been part of this all the way along. I run an AI company today, so I'm still very busy in AI. And but the frontier models have gone down a path because of the work that Google did in 2012 to put out in the public how you build a deep learning model, basically very deep. And then by 2017, they published a seminal paper on the transformer. And once you had that, you could build LLMs. That is almost 10 years ago now, right? So we've had 10 years of advances on the transformer, and it's still giving us paybacks. I mean, these models are getting better, but they're also getting better because of post-training. They're also getting better because they can self-code. So they've got, reinforcement learning. You've got now basically self-coding, where a lot of these models are being coded by the model itself to improve itself. I think a lot of people never thought we would get there, and I would say in this space, from a coding perspective, we weren't there till early 2026, when Claude finally had a release that literally could build an entire application. And if you remember a couple of years ago, yeah, we were all using coding tools and they were a little bit of a help, about as much of a help as me, searching for some open source code. But then this breakthrough happened that was like, oh, I can get up and leave, and 6 hours later, it wrote the entire application, front end, back end, and it works. Once you got to that level of competency, it changed the game. And it changed it psychologically, where we've had programmers going, for 2 years on LLMs, oh, they'll never get rid of me because I'm still doing 80 or 90% of the work, to I don't write a line of code anymore. And certainly all my coders that work for me, all my developers, they don't even look at the code anymore, because this Claude will write code so fast, and it's written so many lines that, you say, I need to build this, and here's the ins, and here's the out, here's the API. It goes and does it, you run it, it works. There's 2,500 lines of code in there. You're not going to look at them. You're not going to try to dissect what's going on. You just ship it. You test it and ship it. And so I think that's really a fascinating thing, and a real impact to developers who thought that their reason for living was to write lines of code. And maybe that's not going to be the case anymore, because the people at the frontier of this are not writing any code at all, and they're not even reviewing the code.
Yeah. I think putting aside coding, I think I can also see in the past 1 year, all these AI chatbot, for example, ChatGPT, Gemini, even Claude itself, right? I think they are quite good in terms of replying, answering, brainstorming together with you, coming up with solutions, right? I think less hallucination, at least from my experience. I think it's quite fascinating quite fascinating how this, AI goes. But before then, also you were involved in these two so-called revolutionary AI assistant as well back then, which are Siri and Alexa, right? So I think maybe people might have forgotten about those technologies simply because of the current AI chatbot. But tell us also these breakthrough that you went when you work on Alexa and Siri. I think Alexa back then, when it was, first time, revealed, it was like quite fascinating.
I didn't work directly on them. They licensed our technology and our patents to build them. What I can tell you is that they were built very much leveraging the sort of the models that we put forth. This is before LLMs, right? So we're all based on what we call traditional speech recognition that did use hidden Markov models. A lot of those came from a company called Nuance. And so those kind of became the best models in the industry until LLMs came along, and they used a variety of text to speech. And we kept getting better at text to speech. Early on, our text to speech was that is conversion of, say, email, read my email, right? Was very crude. In fact, it was often based on concatenating syllables recorded by humans in a studio and putting them all back together, and writing the algorithms to put them all back together, because without that, they sounded very mechanical. And you'll remember a lot of those mechanical things. Hi, this is the train. It is leaving for the next station. And go, what? Can't you just record that? This is terrible. Now it's really perfect, because we can build models on an actual human voice. And as you know, we can build a model on my voice or your voice in a matter of minutes. But that technology didn't exist. And so you had to concatenate all these things, and or record real human voices and, put them back together. And a lot of people did that. We did that. Siri did that for the longest time. Alexa did that. That's what everybody did. And we had laid out the process to do that. So everybody, it licensed, those two big systems licensed that technology. And today, everybody's moving to an LLM backbone, if you will. And but still, many of the kind of human interface issues that we had to deal with are still used today.
Right. So you mentioned about software developers. Their job these days will change a lot, right? So no more writing the code, that's for sure. Even reading the code probably is kind of like a very tough job these days, because of the amount of code that AI can generate.
It's too much.
So what do you think the developers' evolution should be, right? Maybe from your point of view.
So we've seen this before, but very few developers alive today remember it. And so let me take you back to the 50s and 60s. Well, in the 50s and 60s, there was something called machine code. That's how you coded a computer. It was literal ones and zeros. And you had a table, and if you wanted to do this particular thing, it was 11001011, and that's what you'd put in, either on a punch card or some other way, right? So we started with machine code, and later, I want to say it was late 50s or sometime in the 60s, and it may have been IBM, developed an idea of assembler. And assembly would be still an extremely crude language, but that language would convert itself, basically compile into machine code. Okay, great. All of a sudden, I didn't have to worry about the 110110. I say, move this register from here to there, and it would, right? And it would just put that in the ones and zeros. This wasn't a very English-friendly language, and it wasn't a high-level language. It was a very low-level language, but it works, and it's very succinct, and it's very much tied to essentially each processor cycle, each processor actual command on the processor. Okay, fine. So by the 60s, we had that. And then later in the 60s, people started using the two first high-level languages, one business and one math. It was COBOL and Fortran. And that's the first time, in essence, in English, I could do something. So early coders were coding in a language that went away because we had a higher-level language called assembly. And then assembly basically went away for most people, and that became these higher level languages. And of course, by the 70s and 80s, we had very high level languages that are really thoughtful, that are in English in essence, right? So we have seen developers move to higher and higher and higher level languages where the language is producing, thousands of lines of machine code for us. We're not writing those thousands of lines. Now we've progressed one more time to the actual English language of natural language. So if I can describe it at this level, it'll write it in Python, which actually is compiling down to assembly, which ultimately kind of converts to machine code. And we don't see any of those layers. So my point is, we've given up seeing a variety of layers of computer programming over the years. Most people just have forgotten that because we've been in high-level languages now for 30 or 40 years. And now we're going to the highest level language, which is just the way we speak. And if we're articulate enough and have a good enough specification, it'll write all of that all the way down to machine code for us, right? Based on 60 years of effort, right? And here's what I would portend. Here's what I would say in talking to so many developers. At first, the developer has sadness and says, all of my joy comes from or came from writing code, and I love writing code. And so my supposition here is that you never really loved writing code. And by the way, you could still write code if you want. No one will pay you for it, but you can write all you want at home. Actually, what you got the most joy from is delivering that feature or that bug fix or whatever. And notice the person you were delivering that to, internal in a company or an external customer or whatever, never cared how you got there. What they cared about is, did you do it right? Was it on time, or was it even speedier? So they wanted speed and quality. Speed and quality. Nobody cares how you got there. And in fact, if you can get there without writing a line of code, even better, like to your customer, even better. And so people have to wake up and realize the joy is from the delivery of the output. And I see developers now with essentially a screen of, 8 agents, and each one is kicking off some feature upgrade, some bug fix, some, et cetera. And they're just the robot overlord. They're coordinating all of that. They're getting it back. They're doing some unit testing. They're integrating it. Someone else probably will do full feature testing or full functional testing, et cetera. And then they're shipping it. And I watch people now, including in my companies, someone says, boy, at 11 o'clock in the morning, we've got a customer that really needs this feature. And I don't know how many weeks that's going to take. And at 1 o'clock after lunch, the guy comes out or the gal comes out and says, during lunch, I ran this agent and it did it for, and here it is. Here's the feature. It's done. It's not fully tested yet, but it's done. That brings, trust me, so much joy to everyone involved in that chain of process there, right? Lastly, if this was 2 years ago, all we heard is coders are going to all lose their jobs. We don't need them anymore, okay? That turns out to not be the case. ignoring some companies who've laid off and said it's all about AI, and it isn't. That's a longer story. Let me tell you why it's not the case. Everyone I know is so excited about going so much faster to get rid of and reduce their feature backlog and their bug backlog, often is in the thousands, right? And now they're starting to deliver those faster. They don't want to slow down again by cutting their dev headcount. And these devs know their product. So no one is cutting headcount that matters. They really aren't. And so this just turned into, wow, I can deliver all of this so much faster. That's what it turned into. And that's really important.
Right. Yeah, so I think this narrative of, we don't need software engineers anymore, those frontier model companies keep saying that over, the past, 1 year or so, right? That kind of like creates a lot of impact, like layoffs, people worried, juniors cannot get jobs as well. I've been hearing it a lot, right? So I think I understand about the moving to the higher language, especially now people just use prompt. But the agentic behavior is something that seems kind of like really potentially can replace developers because they can do this looping and keep on building things until it can even turn out into applications. So what do you think these agentic behaviors, should it be something that we worry about, or should it be something that naturally we will?
Because the people running the agentic behavior are developers, right? You don't want your business manager doing that. You don't want someone in accounting doing that, right? You want your developers doing that because they're responsible for the product and the quality of the product and how the product works and did it meet the specs and all that is on the developer's back. And so again, what I see is no one that I know of is letting developers go. It would be laughable. And I know some big companies did it and they checked the box and they said it was because of AI. No one's really doing that. I will tell you, the only developers that are getting let go are developers that say, I'm not using AI. I don't want to use it. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. I think, well, they're never going to work again, right? I'm sorry, right? This technology's here. That's like saying, I don't want to code in Python. And the company goes, but we only code in Python. Well, I refuse. Okay, well, then you don't work here anymore. I'm not worried about it. I'm not seeing it. Now, the junior developer thing is an issue because what's happening is companies are not hiring as many. They're hiring as many developers right out of coders right out of college, right? As they go, I really don't need this entry-level person because my staff here is now handling everything and delivering things so much faster. I don't have this backlog to do. It's not about, well, AI is better than the junior developers. Like I don't have this backlog of things that keeps growing. The backlog's finally shrinking, right? Finally catching up. So I don't have a need for more people. That said, there's an overriding macro situation, which is there are 18 million people leaving the workforce over the next 5 years, and there's 13 million available to come in. So we are going to be at a workforce deficit in the United States anyway, workforce deficit forever, right? For the foreseeable future. And so we need AI to increase our productivity, or else we won't have any company at all because there'll be no one to work. So I think overall it's going to work out quite well.
Right. So what can developers do to kind of like, improve themselves, live in the current AI era, especially for those juniors, how they can survive in this?
You have to be absolute expert on using Claude and agents, period. And you have 6-8 agents, and they're all, running coding tasks for you. And that's your job. Your job is to coordinate these. Now, there's a lot you have to know, right? Because we always think of, I'm going to go build an application. Developers rarely build an application. What they're building is an additional feature that has to bolt in, or a bug fix or something else. And that has to be well described. The APIs have to be well specified. The range of data inputs, sort of all of that has to be done and done thoughtfully. And you actually have to be a good developer to do that. Otherwise, you can't even read an API spec. You don't know what an open API spec is, right? You don't know what it is, but so you have to know what it is. You have to know how to use it in these specifications so that when the code is delivered that interfaces with that API, it actually works and it makes sense. So that's why I think this is a technical field that requires technical people that know the process of now DevOps, probably more than Agile, but understand that process. I think we're all moving from what was a 2-week Agile process to more of a DevOps process, which is like 1 hour. and very small things. I'm going to just fix this one bug. We're going to put it into a build. That build might become a release. And then we do that again another hour or two from now, and everybody contributes, right? So I think we're going to move more to DevOps finally. I mean, we've been talking about DevOps for 20 years, 15 years, Gene Kim. But I think we're actually moving there. And so this is all good, and it's going to be fast. It's going to be furious, and people are going to get great joy from being able to deliver product much faster and have happier customers of that product.
Right. I think currently you also are still working in a company that builds AI for testing, right? So tell us
Yeah,
what kind of
that's right.
revolutionary thing that you're doing with testing.
So, Appvance is the name of the company. Appvance has a test platform that is AI based. It's always been AI first. Obviously, there's LLMs, transformers all over the thing today. But since 2017, that technology, pretty much by itself, you have to be really a developer or a really good QA person to set it up. But once you set it up and you told it what your business requirements are, it goes off, writes all the tests, writes the scripts, literally codes the scripts, runs the scripts, and will do thousands of them, many more than you could ever think of. And people say, well, why do I want to test 12,000 user flows through this application as an integrated functional test? Why don't I just do the 100 that matter? Because actually 12,000 matter, because your users are not going to go to just one state to check that particular outcome. They're going to go to whatever states they get to, hundreds, thousands of states maybe, right? And so you want to test that way. And that's something called AI Script Generation Bug Hunter, a long title, but it finds bugs that nobody else finds. And so we've been doing that since 2017, and it's very, very good, and it's gotten better over the years. It's gotten easier to set up, right? It can also generate your test cases, just base level test cases, and turn those directly into scripts and run those. And, so for years, we've got customers on this that the vast majority of their test scripts were written by a machine. They were not written by the humans. They did not have a team of 300 writing these. They had a robot overlord of 1 or 2 people. What's interesting is you'd say, well, why doesn't everyone use this? This is a breakthrough. You mean AI finds all my bugs? It's kind of like the mythos for every application. And the answer is yes, it does. But here's what you have to know. A lot of people have ingrained culture, ingrained teams. They've got hundreds or thousands of people writing scripts. How do you tell them that the machine does their job completely? How do you do that? Because in this case, it really does. You need a manager, but you probably don't need people manual testing or any of that. You really don't. And so that's been the biggest challenge there. And the companies, huge companies, just Stellantis, the largest car company in the world, this is their standard platform, and Liberty Mutual and many other companies. Yet other companies, they go, oh, wow, what do you mean you found 282 bugs in our production system that we never found? Well, they're real. Here they are. Well, I think we should think about this more. It's very scary. It's, this is one of those technologies that to the CIO, they love it. And the lower you get on the totem pole, the less they love it, the more it scares them. Right. And so, look, I think that will pass because in the end, technology always wins, just always wins. And unlike coding where you need those developers, we employed millions of people doing simple manual testing across the world, or simple scripting, writing Selenium scripts and things like that. Yeah, that's probably gone. Those tasks are not needed anymore and haven't been needed for almost 10 years. But it takes a long, sometimes change takes a long time.
Right. And does it do, what's the approach? Is it white box testing, black box testing, or is it gray box, in the middle?
It is complete it's a large platform. It's functional performance, security, mobile, web, API, etc. But true functional testing. So, true at the UX and at the API, but usually at the UX, mimicking what you expect users to do, and based on your business requirements and your data-driven outcomes, right? So if a user does this, and this, they better get the number 47 out the other side, kind of thing, right? And and so it will create thousands of those flows for you based on kind of heuristics based on what it thinks users are going to do, and based on what your business requirements say that must work, right? And that's what it does, and that is the ultimate test. Look, all I want in testing is one thing: visibility to the bugs. There will be bugs. There will be things that don't work the way I expect them to. I just want that visibility, and I can still decide to release it, right? But I need the visibility. And our testing QA tools never gave us very much visibility. They gave us at best about 10% visibility to all bugs. And then your users would find and report bugs, and then you'd go round and round and round. And they're very expensive to fix once the user finds. So you want to find them early. So, the idea of leveraging AI to find all your bugs, at the integration functional testing level. So this is way beyond unit testing. You've done your unit test. Now you put it all together. It's talking to 22 backend systems. What's the situation there look like? And, the idea of using AI for that is a really smart idea. It's not a great use of human skills. It's something that AI can do, and in a few hours it will deliver, even on your production system, more bugs than you've ever found, but your users have found them. I can guarantee it. They didn't report them, but they ran into them and they started over, or they did whatever, right? So yeah, Appvance has been breakthrough after breakthrough, lots of patents. It's a great company, great team, and huge customers. So I can't complain.
Just to clarify, is this based on LLM model as well, or is this something different?
Some is LLM and some is traditional AI and ML. It's kind of a mix of both for a lot of reasons. Some things the LLM or Transformer is really good at, or frontier models. Some it isn't. But it's a mix of all of that, and but frontier models are used where they are appropriate to use them, for sure. And more of that is replacing some of the older ML as the frontier models get better at very specific tasks, which they might not have been good at just a year ago.
Right. So yeah, hopefully people can also check it out. So it sounds really cool, right? Being able to find bugs, independently, automatically, right? And yeah, so hopefully the software gets more quality. So let's maybe move on the next conversation about your book, right? So
Sure.
you've been doing AI, more technical stuff, and you finally wrote a book not about technology. It's called Joy Success Cycle. So tell us, what's the background behind this book, actually?
Yeah, for those actually watching, they can see the Joy Success Cycle. Look, people have asked me for a long time, why do you have such high dopamine? Why are you always so joyful? And so I began writing that down and writing down a method to be like that. And I'll tell you, so the core of the book says that joy doesn't come after success, it comes before. And if you have joy in everything you do, you're more likely to be successful. Joy in everything you do will lead to more success. This is a very critical breakthrough in understanding. And there's a whole chapter on the science that proves this out as well. So the Joy Success Cycle lays out a method that allows you to look at every single task you do every single day and make it a joyful task. Even if it's firing someone, how do I bring joy to this moment? And it turns out you can. We tell you how to do that. And it looks at natural human behavior. Natural human behavior is humans tend to complain a lot, both internally and externally. In fact, we complain about everything in life. We complain the moment we get up, all the way to when we go to bed. And the average person in the United States complains internally and externally about 100 times a day. 100. Wow. And every time you complain, you take yourself further away from success, because you have to dig yourself out of this hole of complaints, basically, which we call the positive quotient. It goes to zero, and then you have to dig yourself out and dig yourself on the way back. So one of the things we teach is the 1 complaint a day rule. And so tomorrow, everybody on this show that's listening or watching, you count up the number of complaints you have, and you're going to find it's 60 or 100 or 110 or whatever. It's going to shock you, whatever the number is. You have to keep honest track. And these are internal complaints too. And then the next day you start to work towards the 1 complaint a day rule, where you can only have 1. And I can guarantee you're going to burn that one up first thing in the morning. You're going to get out of bed and say, oh, my knees hurt, or the weather sucks, or something. And then, you're going to hear the buzzer in your head going, You've used up your 1 complaint for the entire day. You have no more. So it's a way of gamifying this and getting your brain to start thinking, I got to get out of complaint mode. That is never going to help me. By the way, no one wants to hear me complain. No one. And it turns out very quickly, you don't want to hear yourself complain anymore. You think it's a total waste of energy, and it is. And so then you start working towards, I've got to find joy in this moment. I've got to, it's raining out. I was going to go on a bike ride, but that's okay. Instead, I'm going to get this other task done that I wasn't going to do for a while. And isn't that great? That's going to bring me joy. So you need to find the joy moment in everything rather than, oh, this is awful. This is actually a positive. I can turn it into a positive. And it's not being stupid about it. It's like, it turns out that's what I do. I mean, I had to write it all down and say, what do I do? Why is it that I can see all of these pain points out there and things to work on and ways to solve them? Why is it that I can do that, right? And it's because I've got an open mind. And I've got an open mind because I'm not complaining all the time. My mind is open and ready to go solve the world's problems every minute of the day. That's a great place to be. And that's where I want everyone to be. So the people who I've been giving, I do about 40 keynotes a year. And so many of my keynotes have been the Joy Success Cycle. And I have consistently gotten calls weeks later that it changed entire teams. It changed the work environment. It changed people. And so it was important. It's an important book to publish. Lastly, the timing is right, because the one thing I hear across the board, something like 50% of the people in the US anyway, believe that AI is bad, it's dangerous, and they don't like AI data centers, right? Well, let me start out with this. They're wrong, right? And AI is not going away. So how do you find the joy? They say, well, it took all the joy out of my life. Okay, stop. AI didn't take the joy out of your life. You misconstrued what your sense of purpose was, and you misconstrued what was bringing you joy. You thought that was it because that's what you were doing. But now we've got to look at it in a new era where AI is going to take away a lot of the joyless tasks. And that's what you have to look at. When you really step back, fussing around for a day to fix 3 lines of code that you can't quite get the logic right on. We've all done this.
Yeah.
Any coders, and you really, the whole day goes by and you go, I got nothing done. I can't get this little teeny, set of logic to work. It's an if, then, else, or something. It's one of these things and the logic isn't working. Your mind isn't figuring it. You no longer spend time doing that. That is a waste. There is a machine that does that. And we should not spend our time doing anything that we don't add maximum value to anymore. You add no value to fixing that logic. A machine can fix that logic in 1 minute, literally a minute. As long as you can describe it, it will fix it. And so this is fascinating, right? So I can guarantee you're going to have more joy because of that, not less joy. And that's what we want. And so this Joy Success Cycle hits at the right time. It allows people to find their sense of purpose and where they can get joy, even though the work they were doing is being taken away from them. They're doing more important work now, work that they really add value to. And that is very exciting.
Yeah. So I think you said it right. I think this is kind of like the right time because I think it happened, from my experience at least, right? It happened since the pandemic, right? When people started to feel more anxiety, more
Sure.
sadness, right?
Sure.
Feeling kind of like depressed, and then so many layoffs, and then political situation, war, and all that. Now AI coming, right? So obviously we are in kind of like, I don't know, like doom and gloom kind of a thing, and the news
Sure.
doesn't help as well. So I think maybe from your perspective, right? Because it seems like our positive emotion is kind of like eroding day by day, right? So how can we actually bring back our positive emotion regardless of what is happening in the world?
Right. And I think the Joy Success Cycle lays out a process to do that. And it's only 200 pages, so it's not a big read. It's an easy read. It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can order it today. It comes out September 1st, so you can pre-order it. There's a lot of pieces to this process. For example, we have a whole chapter on the joy killers and things that take away joy from your life. By the way, this could be a family member that you don't want in your life, right? You didn't ask to be in your life. It could be people at work. It could be work that you're doing. It could be a variety of things. And how you either have to find joy in them or you have to get them out of your life. right? There are things in all of our lives that they're never going to bring you joy. And I give you an example. You're at the office, if you work in an office, you're at the office, and every time you go to fill your thing with water, Betty's there, and Betty's just complaining about everything. Oh, I hate the management. I hate this person. I hate that. I hate this. Buy Betty a copy of the book and bless her out of your life. You don't need to see Betty anymore. She's not going to help you succeed at all. All of this kind of talk of, let's just talk about how bad management is. Really? Is that going to change it somehow? No. You have two choices: to never participate in that talk anymore, and just do your job and do a great job and get joy from it, or leave and get a job somewhere else where maybe you like the management better. You already have two choices. But the third choice of, let me just complain about them, doesn't allow you to attain your highest level of success ever. It brings you down. It brings them down. It brings everyone around you down. It pokes holes in the boat when you're all trying to cross the river at the same time. It's just bad. And so that doesn't say that all management is good. It certainly isn't. It just says you complaining about it isn't the way to deal with it, right? The way to deal with it is to leave or to ignore it and do your job. I mean, that's it. That's all there is. So I'm picking on that one, but there are 100 examples of these kinds of things, right? Yep. Where this is the stuff that happens, and it just takes you down. And once you're spiraling downward, you can't even think. You look at a blank page, you can't do your job. You waste all this time. You're not moving towards success. You're not looking at the next pain point out there and going, I wonder if I can build a virtual assistant. I wonder if I can have AI find all the bugs in my software. I wonder if I can retrofit the Empire State Building with energy efficient window, right? Like, I'm thinking of those things because I'm not dwelling down in the gutter. I don't need to be down there. Let someone else be down there, right? Mm-hmm. And so, joy breeds success, which gives you more joy, which gives you more success. You need to have joy every minute in every task and everything you do. Forget Betty at the water cooler. And my apologies to someone named Betty. I am not, I just grabbed the name out of the air. It's not you.
Yeah. So another thing that I think from my experience is like the source of joy killer is actually news and social media, right? So if you're always following the news.
Doom scrolling.
Yeah. So
don't
I think
doom scroll. What we deal with that a little bit, and actually we deal with it quite well, is you're welcome to hear the news. I'm not telling you to never listen to the news and never. However, you have to stop worrying about those things which you can't impact. Spend no energy on it, right? So today you open the paper, you go, oh, there's a war and people are getting bombed and people are getting... unless you're going to go there and solve it, or you're going to run for president, or I don't know, right? You actually have no impact on that. You can note it. You're educated on it. You want to be educated on world politics, that's great. But if you can't worry about it, and it's the worrying about it that puts people in bed in a depressed state. I have met more people who say, oh, well, because of this, I can't even get out of bed. I said that's going on, 12,000 miles away, and you can't have any impact on it. I just can't get out of bed. Okay, so it's having an impact on you where you're no longer going to be successful today. And if that's what you choose to do, that is your life choice. It's not the choice I choose to make. I want to be educated on it. I can't fix it. I don't have the power to fix it. I don't have the power to start wars or end wars, but I want to be educated on it. But I can't get depressed about it. So stop worrying about the things you can't fix. Do not spend any energy on the things you can't fix. And that doesn't have to be just a war. It could be something at work. It could be something in your family. It could be some religious thing. It could be a tree fell that you loved so much. Oh my God, it's ruined my life because I love that tree. It ruined it's a tree. They all fall eventually, right? I don't mean to be mean about it, but like, you can't have any emotion over that. That isn't the place to sort of waste your time if you want to be the most successful you can be. Because every minute you spend crying about the tree is a minute that's not moving you towards your maximum success. By the way, your maximum success could be money, obviously, could be career, could be family, could be religion, could be sports. I don't know what it is, right? So however you define success in your life. Lots of people define it as a certain monetary freedom. I get that. And then that's the most common, right? I want to get to a point where where I can retire early, I don't have to work, or, whatever. Good. You define it the way you want to define it. Every minute you spend doing something negative is a minute that doesn't move you towards that, and you will never get that time back.
Yeah.
Well, I spent 3 days just worrying about a war. That's 3 days you can never get back, and you didn't impact the war. I spent 3 days protesting against this data center. Oh, okay, well, the data center will get built somewhere. You won't have had an impact. It might not get built in your town. It's going to get built somewhere. I guarantee it. And that's 3 days you won't get back. Like, you can't move towards your success. And, everybody's got their own drive. Maybe their sense of purpose is to protest, in which case, all right, I guess you should go do that, right? But, the book just tries to say if you want to be the most successful, you have to push a lot of that stuff out of your life because you only get so many hours a day. And a lot of us spend those hours complaining, bitching, moaning, arguing, all kinds of negative stuff. And then weeks go by. You go, I didn't accomplish a thing. Of course you didn't. I could have told you that. You can't accomplish anything. You're down in the gutter. Don't do it. Anyway, obviously, 200 pages talks about this in great detail and gives a great method. People have bought it for their teams. We had draft versions that I used with teams. It's game-changing for teams. We watched sales teams, increase their productivity almost overnight by following this method. So it is coming at the right time where AI and other things have really impacted people's psyche. And we're going to pull you out of that and move you forward. And I hope make you rich with success, whatever that means.
Yeah. I think it's a great advice, right? To focus on really what we can control, right? Obviously, if we cannot control, we don't care so much about it. I think if we dwell on it, I think we waste so much time. Yeah.
Yep.
And I like I think I'd like to ask you the next question, right? You mentioned a few times about purpose, and there's this, like one line in your book that I really like purpose as the foundation and curiosity as your stepping stone, right? So tell us about this concept, because I think some people may not even know what's their purpose. They'll just live in the motion, right?
Curiosity is your friend, right? I think when we're curious, we learn. And when we learn, we find pain points we can solve. And when we learn more, we try to solve them. The most successful people, Elon Musk, you can like him or dislike him, but he's a trillionaire. So give or take, maybe a little less now. But the point is he's curious all the time. He's curious about, I wonder if I can make rockets way, way, way cheaper. Nobody ever bothered to really think about that. They just got the government contract and built it to the contract. And if the price went up, there was more margin and there's more money for everybody. That was good, more profit. So I think, someone rethinking these fields is fantastic. And Elon, if nothing else, is curious. Can I build a car out of existing batteries where I don't have to make brand new batteries? Can I build rockets cheaply? Can I provide internet by putting thousands of satellites up? Nobody's ever done that before. Is it even possible? Well, if you drive the launch costs down, it's possible. So staying curious is what keeps your mind open and allows you to learn your whole life. So many people, they leave school and they go, well, I'm done learning now. Oh, that sucks. What are you going to do? I mean, I love learning every day. I read voraciously and really information in our field, right? I need to know what's going on and who's doing it. It's hard to keep up with everything going on. But stay curious on everything, and you will continue to learn throughout your life.
Yeah. So definitely curiosity, follow your curiosity, right? Even if you cannot find your purpose now, I think maybe the curiosity will lead you to there, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I think another thing that is quite kind of like fun in your book, one of the chapters is called The Joy of To-Do Lists. I think many people may not feel joy when they see their to-do list. So tell us about why this to-do list is powerful for your joy.
Yeah, so I do to-do lists every day. I do them by hand. And to-do lists are great for a lot of reasons. One, it tells you what you got to do today or the next day or whenever you've done it. If you've done it the night before, you did it in the morning. The other thing it does is it gives you small wins during the day. You get to literally cross something off or check it off when it's done. You go, so I have to prepare for this podcast. Check. They go, win. Small wins are great. You need small wins all during the day. And by the way, every time you check something off the list, it's a little dopamine hit. And it gives you more energy to keep going. And when you don't make a list, you're just wandering through the day, just dealing with what comes. And that's just not as satisfying. So the other thing is writing a list with a pen is a great thing. And I write lists with pens. And I highly recommend doing that, pen or pencil. And it's much better than keeping lists on a computer, which I tend to never get to and never do. So write them every day. Do your to-do list. I don't get through my to-do list every day. Some things on that to-do list are a month kind of a thing. They're going to take a lot longer. That's okay. But I know it's there. I see it every day. I work on it a little bit to try to make progress.
Yeah. So maybe you said that you have been in kind of like this joy, I don't know, like journey for many, many years. Maybe after writing your book or after spreading this in your keynotes, are there some inspiring stories that you can share with us, about, some people who have use your methodology and really succeed?
Yeah, there was this great sales reorganization that happened, a very big company that I came in and spoke the Joy Success. That was my keynote on that. They specifically asked me to come because the mess they had was they had reorganized and everybody was mad. The salespeople didn't like the new groups they were in. They didn't like anything about anything. And all they were doing was moaning every single day rather than selling. And, selling attitude is very important. So if your attitude isn't good, you don't sell anything. And sure enough, after the Joy Success Cycle, and I customized some things I customize my keynotes all the time. So for them, I said, let's say there was a reorganization, which I know there was. And I know it's very easy to be negative on all of this. Oh, I liked my other team. I worked. Okay, let's look at the positives. First of all, you knew everything there was to know about your other team members. There was nothing new to learn. Here's a whole new group of 28 people you don't know anything about that you can learn from. There's 28 people that you can go and have a drink with or a coffee with or a tea with or whatever it is or a lunch with, right? This is a whole new learning opportunity for you where you can open your mind, be curious about them and their experiences, and probably learn a whole new set of experiences, whole new set of skills, right? And when you look at it that way, all of a sudden, what a great opportunity rather than, I hate this, I want to go back to my old group, which is what everybody said. I hate it, I want to go back to my old group. And the second thing is when you come in with that kind of mindset, then what's great about it is that you go out to sell and you've got a great selling attitude because you're excited to be with this new group. You still love your old group, but you're excited to be with a new group. So that's an example of people who called me a few weeks later and said, not everybody picked it up, but those who did are going to be here a long time and they're excited about it. And they stopped all the water cooler talk and it changed their entire attitude.
Right. So, Kevin, I think it's been a great things. Any things that you think can be also shared by you, like before we wrap up to the last questions that I have?
No, I think we covered a lot today.
Mm-hmm. All right. So in that case, I'll ask you this one last question that I always ask in my podcast. It's called the 3 technical leadership wisdom. Just think of it like advice you want to give to the listeners to wrap up.
Well, the advice, we probably covered all of it. One, use AI all the time, period, full stop, done. That's at the leadership level, it's at the coding level, and it's everywhere else. If you're not using AI 5 times an hour, you are behind your competition. It's really important. And, listen to that, right? It's really, really critical. The second thing is that AI isn't taking any joy away. You thought it was, but trust me, it isn't. Buy the book. It'll take you through a method that I guarantee you and your workers are going to be far more joyful about. And lastly, this is the best time to be alive in technology ever. We are able to achieve and write more and produce more incredible output than we've ever been able to do in our lives. It's unbelievable. And so this isn't the worst time to be in tech. It's the best time to be in tech. And it's always how you look at it. And I know some people are going to look at this and go, oh, it's change. I don't like change. Okay. This is the best time to ever be in this field. You could not have come at a better time. And so how lucky you are.
Wow. I think it's quite inspiring, right? So I think the best time ever in the tech, if you always see it from the positive side, I think you can really feel that this is really the best time ever in the technology world, right? Where things are kind of like being invented all the time, right? Every day. So Kevin, if people love this conversation, they want to reach out to you, find more about your resources, your books. Is there a place they can find?
Yeah, my website is kevinsurace.com, and the book website is joysuccesscycle.com.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope people learn a thing or two about finding their joy, right? And hopefully that leads them to their success. So thanks again for the time today.
Thanks for having me.